popped up anyway. Okay, all right. Okay, well, now that we did that dry run, here we go.
You're listening to The Weigh-In with Mike Parsons.
What are you cackling at, fatty? Too much pie, that's your problem.
And Fred Slow.
Anybody want a peanut?
On demand 24/7 at weighinradio.com.
Interior crocodile alligator. I drive a Chevrolet movie theater. Interior crocodile alligator.
Hey, of course, and Fred Slow alongside me, Mike Parsons. You are listening to us on 590 KFNS or 1380 KXFN or on the Talk STL app, or you have found us on our website, weighinradio.com. Mike, exciting week in sports, exciting week in life. How are you doing, friend?
Wait, what, Fred? Sorry, I'm a little distracted. I'm on this hot stock tip, and I'm just trying to get in on the ground floor while I can.
Open this tip up for the world. I always say, when you can, just give them a little tip.
Okay, well, you give them just the tip. Well, all right, Fred. I don't normally do this, but across my Facebook feed, I got a message that says, if I copy and paste this, Mark Zuckerberg will pick a couple lucky winners to receive 10% stock in Facebook.
And did you in fact copy and paste it?
I did copy and paste it.
Is this a thing where I have to act quickly because the winner will be selected at midnight Eastern?
Yes, and it's similar to this work from home opportunity, Fred, where I could set my own hours and become my own boss. But I gave that up because it turns out that I have a dead uncle in Zimbabwe.
Oh, well,
he's very rich.
Silver linings, right? That's exactly what that is. Because you want to be able to get to you want to have like a workflow beneath you. So, okay, I'm going to draw a picture for you. Think of like a pyramid, okay?
Okay, yep.
And you want to be at the top of the pyramid.
Right.
And then everyone who works below you, then they funnel money upwards. And then eventually if you're at the top, there's nowhere else for it to go. And then that money becomes your money. It seems like it can't go wrong.
Well, it's the classic trickle-up economics theory that we've been hearing about since the Reagan administration. And yeah, the more people you have selling under you, the more revenue you're cut in on. So, back to my rich dead uncle in Zimbabwe, sent him off my bank info, sent him off my social security card. I had to make an original investment of $10,000, just to cover banking fees. But if you think about it, I'm going to get that back. Plus, now I have a chance to win stock in Facebook if Mark Zuckerberg picks me. So,
who is more fortunate, Mike? You with obviously your long lost uncle who's passed in Zimbabwe, or Oklahoma sliding into the number 4 seat over Iowa? Who is more fortunate here?
Wow, you know what? Actually, I'm surprised to hear you say that, Fred, because I grew up in Big Ten country, so I often have to step outside my Midwest Big Ten bubble. And my theory is that most people would have thought that the one team that didn't belong was Michigan State. So I'm glad to hear you say that Oklahoma got lucky, because maybe that means Michigan State is legit in the nation's eyes.
Michigan State beat the guys Michigan State had to beat, and they did it in prime time. So when they beat Ohio State and when they beat those other Big Ten powerhouses, because the Big Ten was a powerhouse this year.
Yep.
I mean, you got to take those the Power 5 conferences, right? You only get 4 of them. There's 5 conferences, but you only get 4 of those conference champs. I guess they're not even conference champs, really, because that's
that's the old system. That was the BCS system, right?
Makes sense. But Power 5, you got to take at least those 4 best teams from those 5 conferences, I would think.
And you know what? As wacky as some of those polls were throughout the season, Fred, as arbitrary as a lot of their reasons were for putting teams in the top 5, like, you remember that 3-week stretch when Notre Dame was in there because of their quality loss to Clemson? And you kind of be looking at it like, what are these guys thinking? But it seems like kind of at the end where when the smoke cleared and the dust settled, I think the committee got it right. I really do. I don't know. Honestly, I think Oklahoma belongs there. Were they a 1-loss or 2-loss team? They're a 1-loss team, right?
Yeah, they were 11-1.
Yeah, if you think about it, those conference championship games, those were like de facto play-in games because, you had the Big 12 between Oklahoma and Oklahoma City, which, those two were neck and neck all season. You had the Big 10 between Iowa and Michigan State. And to a lesser extent, the ACC championship game. That was more of a playoff game for Clemson than North Carolina because it didn't seem like the committee was going to pick North Carolina even if they beat Clemson. So really, those conference championship games were sort of like a de facto wild card round. And like I said, I don't really see a team that doesn't belong there, and I don't see a team that got slighted.
Well, and Clemson's undefeated, and they've played really well all year. They're an outstanding team, and they've left it all on the field and all those cliche things you like to see. They're going to struggle with number 4 Oklahoma when they play December 31st, and I think that's the early game. That's the 4 p.m. game. And then at 8 p.m., Michigan State is going to play Alabama, and that one, to me, that's a slobber knocker. That's the game I do not want to miss because I think Alabama might be the best team in the country, and I think Michigan State is your darling, right? Michigan State is your Cinderella. And they're a guy that I'm not afraid to root for, especially against Alabama, who ranked at number 2. I still consider the best team in the country.
Well, what's interesting, Fred. Let me tell you about a young boy. We'll call him Mike Parsons. Back in the 90s, Michigan State was growing up in Metro Detroit, Fred, you're either a Michigan fan or you're a Michigan State fan. And, of course, back in the 90s, everyone was a Michigan fan because they were always good. And Michigan State, truly, as Mike Hart would say later on, was little brother. And then walks Nick Saban, now the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. He was the head coach of the Michigan State Spartans for a couple of years in the 90s. And it seemed like things were turning around. And then I think it was the Miami Dolphins. He went to the Miami Dolphins before he went to LSU. So the NFL calls. Nick Saban leaves, and Michigan State backslides for another decade until Mark D'Antonio comes in, and he turns everything around. And, sort of being a Michigan State fan in the 90s, you felt like if something could go wrong, it would, because that's normally what happened. Mark D'Antonio comes in. He starts winning games he shouldn't. He starts stringing together 10-win seasons. And now, after, how long? He's been there closer to 10 years than he's been 5. I don't know exactly when he became the head coach of the Michigan State Spartans, but he's
2007. So 8 years.
Okay. So I was close. But, he turned that around. Now, when you're watching Michigan State football, you're thinking, okay, how are they going to find a way to win this game? Because that's what they've done all year. Exhibit A, B, C, and D, that Michigan game where they had, I'm sure the ESPN metrics said that they had a 99.99% chance of losing, and he changed the locker room. He changed, he changed the culture there. Now players expect to win every game, and they're not sitting around wondering how they're going to blow it. And I'm really surprised that the story of Michigan State versus Nick Saban, the person who kind of left them at the altar, isn't a bigger storyline.
Yeah, I think the separation in the storylines is those guys weren't concurrent to each other. So, like, Saban didn't bring in, for instance, Dan Antonio to, as a prodigy, as a guy he was going to shape or whatever. I think the conversation here, though, is just how closely and similarly, like, Jake Coker from the Alabama Crimson Tide matches up against, like, Connor Cook from the Michigan State Spartans, right? Neither of these guys really look like the kind of guys who are pros to me, but they look like the kind of guys who manage college football teams that win national championships. And I mean that in the most sincere way for Connor Cook, because I don't think he'll excel at the next level. Same thing with Jake Coker. But I think these guys can turn and hand it off, and they can maintain the ball, and they can run it. And I think both these teams, you're going to have a absolute throwback to the Smash Mouth. The clock's going to run fast, and they're going to put a million commercials in this game because you know how these things are broadcast. But you're going to be impressed at how tough I think both these teams are at the end, and that speaks to, like you were saying, both the coaches. These guys are going to go at each other hard. Saban, I think, has more to prove than Michigan State does because he has more to lose. Michigan State wasn't meant to be here at the beginning of the season, and Alabama having one loss is a disappointment to them. So they're going to go in and they're going to go hard and give it to Henry and do all those things. And Michigan State, if they can steal one like they did against Michigan, like they did against Ohio State, if they can steal one, then moving into that national championship game, riding that momentum, I think they have a real opportunity to to pull it out this year, which is a crazy thought. I like the Michigan State Spartans at number 3 for a shot at the championship.
And I've got to. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to say, Fred, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised at how good Connor Cook is. He's secretly had a very good season. I forgot he just won some Golden Arm Award. I forgot who it was named after. But I think you're right, because Alabama, no matter when they're playing, no matter who they're playing, they are always the favorite to win the national championship. And I mean, pretty much they're practically an NFL football team playing in the NCAA. And you're right. Nobody was really thinking of Michigan State up until a couple of weeks ago because of that fluky loss they had against Nebraska.
Yeah,
so
that 1-point loss, which is a blemish. But like we said, the 3-point win at Ohio State, the 3-point win at Iowa, they play close football games.
Yeah, and I got to say, to me, the most interesting team is Clemson, because Clemson has been decent in past years, but this is the first year that they've been a national powerhouse, and they're playing against Oklahoma. And I know that experience doesn't really matter when it comes to college football a whole lot, just because players are there for such a short time. But to me, it's been funny seeing Clemson at the top of the college football rankings all season, just because it was sort of a misnomer. And actually, talking to kind of illustrate the point that nobody really expected Michigan State to be here after that loss to Nebraska, I was thinking of adopting Clemson as sort of my team, just because I like Dabo Swinney. He's different. I like his style. But hey, lo and behold, here they are, and the two teams might actually meet. But
Deshaun Watson, to me, is the guy who will play at the next level and excel. He's your pro quarterback. I hate to typecast a guy, but a la some of those guys out there now who can really spread it out and go wide. The Cam Newtons, the Russell Wilsons. He's a guy who is going to, if given the right opportunity, excel in an offense at the next level, and he has a chance to showcase that skill set here. Exciting, man. This is the best time of the year. I love this 14 playoff.
Yeah, and you know what? I like the playoff system. I thought the BCS, I would kind of like to see a hybrid here. I don't think the BCS system was terrible. I just think that it was a bit short-sighted to put only 2 teams in the national championship and not have a 4-team playoff. Like I said, I think the committee got it right. I think it was a good idea to expand it to 4 teams, but I kind of wonder what this would look like if they did the 4-team format with the BCS computer.
It would be difficult for me to say it would be drastically different, because I don't think it would. I think the guys that make these decisions, they're the guys who are proud to do it, and they're plugged into every single play, and they know exactly what's going on. I like the way it played out, because that controversy was there all year long up until the very end when the deck kind of shuffled itself, and after that self-shuffling, we came out with the right 4, man. I mean, sucks for Iowa, sucks for some of those teams, but these are the 4 guys that need to be there, and like I said, they're going to play the final 2 games of the season. Well, 2 of them are, obviously, and that national championship game, which is January 11th. It seems like it's almost in March every year now, but that game is going to be I don't know, man. It's going to be riveting. It's going to be must watch appointment TV.
Yeah, I think this year it's the Monday after the Pro Bowl.
Right.
That's when it's on. But all season when people are kind of scratching their heads and looking at the latest rankings with a side eye, a lot of people were talking about, hey, this thing needs to be expanded to 8 teams. And although I would love to see that happening, The final four rankings have been met with so little controversy and such little argument that if it keeps up like this, I don't really see a need to expand it to 8 teams.
Agreed. I mean, right. It's not broke right now. I'm not worried about fixing it. If 2 years from now we have 6 teams who are all 13-0, then there's another conversation. But I don't think we're going to get to that point again. You're going to have these 1 and 2 loss teams that are going to compete for 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, look at that, Fred. Surprise, surprise. We're late for a break. It's the Weigh-In on 590 KFNS, 1380 KXFN, weighinradio.com, and talkstl.com. All right.
When do you want me to call him?
You want to call him now, or you want to do another segment?
I'm calling right now.
Okay. There was a second when I heard myself feeding back. I don't know if that showed up on your recording or not.
I don't know.
Okay. That's okay.
I don't know why that would have been a thing. All right, hold on one second.
So you got like 10, 11 minutes with this guy?
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I mean, like I said, if it tapers off, it tapers off. If it's solid, it's solid. So
Okay.
He's a smart dude. So he can carry a conversation.
Okay. And we'll do the pat our head thing when we have a question.
Every time.
Okay. I'll let you bring this one in too.
Make sure this is working. Right?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Frank.
All right, hold on. It's mega quiet on my end. Can you hear it, Mike?
Hi, Dustin. I'm Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Okay.
Hey, hold on one second.
Sorry, Fred's fidgeting with his equipment.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear both of you.
Is that way better for you? Mike, can
I'm
you
sorry?
hear?
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit, but I'll just make sure I listen intently. I think that's just an issue we've been dealing with. So.
Can you hear? You got me, Dustin? Everything good?
Yeah, I got you and Mike. And the bad signal might be on my side. I live like right on the edge of North and West County, so I get like no signal sometimes.
Well, actually, when it's not breaking up, you sound very, very crisp and clear.
Yeah.
So we'll blame this one on Fred.
No, this is fine. Everything's working fine. Everyone needs to calm down.
Okay, I'm calm.
I blame a lot of stuff on Fred, so it works.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, you guys ready to go?
Yeah.
All right.
Bring it back, Mike.
What'd you say, Fred?
Am I bringing it back or are you?
Yeah, you go ahead and bring it back.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
These guys are like bad stand-up comics that you can't heckle.
Weighinradio.com.
Welcome back to the weigh-in. I, of course, am Fred Slow. That's at Too Heavy to Skydive on the Twitter. I've been periscoping, Mike.
Have you?
I've been periscoping, so check that out.
You're not periscoping like you used to Snapchat, right?
I see what you're doing there. Yeah, no, I am
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
Okay, I will make sure not to follow you because you are the reason that I deleted Snapchat.
That's an inside joke that the listener will learn about at a later date. Joining us now on the Marshall Wireless Hotline.
Or follow Fred on Periscope.
Yeah, do that. A longtime listener of mine and fast friend, Dustin Ayers of Nerds at Night Gaming, nerdsatnight.com. Dustin, you got some stuff going on locally that I'm pretty excited to talk to you about. What's going on, man?
All right. Well, first of all, Fred and Mike, thanks for letting me come on here and say this. What we got going on Sunday out at the Machinist Building in Bridgeton is what they call the Toy Man Toy Show. Now, the Toy Man has been putting these events on for about 20 years in the area. They're basically just people to get together. There's about 200 or so tables with about 100 or so vendors doing, everything from old toys, video games, movies. Myself and Nerds at Night, which is kind of my retro game business, we'll have our stuff out there. I have everything going as far back as Atari 2600 up to the Xbox era and even some stuff newer than that.
Dustin, how does one what's the business model for a retro game business? How do you find the people who are interested in it? How do you find games that are in working condition? And how do you turn a profit on something like that?
Well, turning a profit is probably the hardest part because you're competing against eBay and you're competing against Amazon. And every now and then you get somebody who throws the value off of everything because they'll sell Turtles in Time for $10, which is normally a $60 to $70 game on its own. So
are you like buying from your
your own collecting?
Are you like buying from your competition and then reselling it to other people? It kind of sounds very like circular and cyclical.
Yeah, actually, there is times where you wind up with the same thing that you probably sold to 2 or 3 people before, because somebody will collect it for a while and they'll get bored with it, or they'll hit some hard times and they need money, so they'll sell it back to you and then you sell it to someone else.
Yeah, I'm very aware of the Toyman show. I know it's been in the area for like 25 years. I went pretty regularly as a kid. It's a cool thing. I think there's 6 or 7 shows a year, but the Christmas show, the December show, is always the best one, right?
Yeah, it's the one where a lot of us try to have our best available stuff. Not just because it's Christmas and for the presents, but it's, our chance here at the end of the year to get a lot of this stuff out there and kind of show off what we've managed to collect.
Cool. And is there an admission to get in, or what's the details on that? I feel like I remember we used to show up early and we saved a couple bucks. Is it the same system?
Well, it's not you save a couple. What you do is if you get there at 8 and you're over 13, the admission is $12. That's the early bird price from 8 to 9. But that gives you a chance to go in, see everything before people get a chance to come in mass and take all the good stuff. Now, from 9 o'clock on, admission is $5 if you're over 13.
Nostalgia is huge right now, Dustin. With the advent of BuzzFeed and the success of the Jimmy Fallon show, bringing back all of our favorite sitcoms from the 90s. Has this correlated with a spike in the nostalgic game business?
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that are contributing to that factor. You get a lot of people on YouTube, for instance, doing things like Let's Play, where they'll throw up a classic game from the 80s, and that gets it in people's heads. Oh, I used to play Alex Kidd, or I used to play Mario Brothers 3, and I want to play that game again. And they don't want to buy a $300 new system to then turn around and download again for another couple bucks that game. And so they'll rather try to find the original and have the original they used to own when they were a kid.
Now, Dustin, me and Mike have kind of rode each other a lot lately on the Star Wars because Mike's not up with the lexicon. And I think video games are kind of the same way, right? And I think a really good example of video games today is, I'm a big WWE fan. I'm a big wrestling fan. And some of their top talent guys like Xavier Woods, they have like vodcast or YouTube shows like Up, Down, Down that take old video games and they allow their superstars and the main event guys to play those games, and you can really relate to that as a fan of that product. Do you think there's any sort of correlation there between mainstream nostalgic video games and the success of these shows, or do you think it's no matter what's going on in mainstream sports that these kind of toy shows are always going to be relevant?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I do definitely think that the level of popularity increased when you have anybody mainstream kind of digging something out of the past. And it feeds each other. I mean, the indie game movement in modern video gaming is built around recreating play experiences from the past. There's games like Super Meat Boy that are essentially just a more difficult Mario Brothers. So, and that's I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so this Sunday, the 13th, so you're hearing the show right now for the first time. It's 8 a.m. But this afternoon, go down to, and give me that address one more time, Dustin.
Oh, yes, it's the Machinist Building. It's on St. Charles Rock Road. It is right between, or it's kind of on the same lot as Target and U.S. Bank.
That's 12.
It's right off of 270.
That's 12365 St. Charles Rock Road in Bridgeton, Missouri, 63044. And obviously bring the family, and there's going to be something for the kids and the wife and the nephew you haven't bought a thing for yet.
Right. Oh, yeah, there's something for everyone, as well as if you're not really into retro games like I sell, there's retro toys, movies, and new and retro, too. I mean, there's usually a bunch of vendors out with tables full of good stuff. There's an artist area where you can writings, paintings, things like that of local artists. They'll have food available on site, so you can grab something to eat while you're there.
Dustin, do you have something in your nostalgic game collection that's sort of like your holy grail, that no matter what, there's no way you would possibly ever sell it because you want to keep it for yourself?
Yeah, actually, I have a couple of pieces like that. I have both of the Mutant League sports games for Sega Genesis. They made a Mutant League football and a Mutant League hockey, which were actually based off of the Madden and NHL entries for those years.
And do you play those on the original consoles?
Actually, I'm such a nerd for this stuff. I have, for Sega Genesis, a handheld portable system they put out at the end of their life called the Nomad.
How do you maintain something like that? I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I had Super Nintendo for like 3 years before I had to blow in the cartridge, which I guess it turns out it's bad for that. But, you know, it seemed like these things crapped out so early that it amazes me when I actually find someone who still has a console that's in working order.
Yeah, some of them do. I mean, it's like anything else. It's just some of it's luck, some of it's how it was treated. One of the interesting things I have right now that's going to be at this next show is I have a unplayed Super Nintendo.
Mint condition.
I'm sorry, did you say something there at the end?
I said that means that's mint condition. So is that worth more than a regular played Nintendo?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's worth more to the people who want to collect something for the sake of having it, and they want the best of whatever they're collecting. You know, some people just want the game, so they don't care if they get a game with, you know, just the cartridge and a torn label. You know, they had to clean it off, they had to use some alcohol on it to get it to work, and they're happy with that because they get to play the game. And then you've got collectors who want perfect display pieces. So this one falls closer in line with the perfect display piece, and they're willing to pay more to get it.
Come out this afternoon, 12365 St. Charles Rock Road, Bridgeton, Missouri, 63044. It's free parking. They do hourly giveaways, Mike, so make sure you register at the door. They have all kinds of things going on for your family. You said 200 vendors, Dustin, but you, specifically you, at Nerds at Night, you have a special giveaway for weigh-in listeners. Is that correct?
Yeah. The first person, especially if you're a Nintendo fan, you're going to love this, who comes up and asks me if Fred Slow is still a thing, gets a complete in-box copy of Tecmo Bowl for Nintendo.
I love it.
Can I just get that on a T-shirt?
I've told him to do that for, a couple years now.
Years ago, Mike, at the TalkSTL.com studio before the transition to AM, I did some guest spots with the Tom and Jeff show, and Is Fred Slow Still a Thing has been trending ever since. Thank you, Dustin.
My question was Fred Slow ever a thing?
Well, I think he likes to think so, but I'll leave that up to him to answer.
Fred's the most powerful man in Wood River. I better be nice because I'm convinced if he wants someone whacked, they're gonna end up missing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Check the bottom of the pool.
If you cannot make it out to the show, where can our listener get a hold of you, Dustin? What's your website? Where's your social media? Where are you available?
Okay, well, my website is Nerds at Night, which is NITE.com. That just more or less at this point updates where we're going to be at with events and stuff. We had an online store, but we're taking that down to do it in a better way going forward. The fastest way, if you're looking for a specific game, is Facebook, which is facebook.com/Nerds at Night.
No, very good. Well, I appreciate your time today, Dustin. Anything else you got going on? Any final announcements?
No final announcements other than to remind everyone, if you're the first person to come up and say, is Fred Slow still a thing, that complete in-box copy of Tecmo Bowl is yours.
I love it. I love everything about that, Dustin. Thank you for your time today, buddy.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Cool. Is that the end of the segment there? Or we could wrap it. Or we could wrap the show up there. That was good. I liked him.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah. There was a part earlier where where we were talking over each other, but I think I can clean that up because the phone call's on your track, and I can just, cut out my part where I was talking over him on my track.
Yeah, and you just remind me I'll have to cut because it's actually recorded on your track on my track, so I'll have to cut that into my track, but it won't be a problem.
Okay, cool.
Well, I don't know. It might be a problem because you guys were talking over each other.
Wait, say that one more time.
Well,
Why would I be showing up on your track?
Well, because it records mine and yours simultaneously.
Yeah.
But the phone call and you are on the same input.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're
Really?
okay. Well, we may just have to. We may
Well, you
just
know
have to. Wait. So wait a second. If me and the phone call are on the same track, then I can't use my track on that anyway because it'd be all double audio. So it's actually bad overall if me and him are on the same track because.
Well, hold on. Now I don't know if I'm right because now I'm looking at the actual track and it looks like it. So it did. All right. So here's a weird thing. So because I didn't, this is 100% my fault. So because I didn't slide his balance over to the left, I kept it in the middle. It's actually on both tracks. So it recorded in stereo instead of just on the same mono track that I record on because I'm an idiot.
Well,
so it will be perfectly fine.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's not okay. Yeah, as long as I'm nowhere on that track, we're fine.
Yes. Also, and here's the thing, for the listener watching the YouTube video, we're not idiots.
Most of the time. I mean,
Yeah. God,
we have the capacity to be. I mean,
why do we do dumb stuff? That was dumb. Why did I do that?
what was dumb?
Me not balancing that out. I mean,
I don't know, but like I said, as long as I'm not on the track, just mix it into a mono file, and we're fine.
yeah, I mean, don't talk to me like you're my dad, okay? 'Cause
Oh well, I'm just saying, nothing's really been screwed up.
sorry, Dad.
That's all I'm saying. Yes, Fred, I'm talking down to you, telling you didn't screw up.
Took my headphones off. I don't even know what you just said. So,
Yeah,
all right, I'm back.
I said eat a dick. No, I didn't.
Hey, good segment though. Good job, Dustin. Yeah, facts. Good job, man.
Yeah, Dustin was good. He was easy to talk to. See, it wasn't a Q&A answer. Like, he was saying stuff I was interested in. I liked him. I didn't know.
Yeah, and he's talking about sports games, which works for me. Like,
Yeah.
And I mean, Andy's a buddy. I mean, help a dude is cool.
Yeah, let's see here. Okay. Let's see. We talk about Creed and if it was the greatest Rocky movie.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. I love that.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. I'll bring us into this one.
Yep.
Shoot, how long do we go with him? Okay. Let's just make these next two 12 and 12 because we went 15 the first one. I think we went about 12 with him. So we'll just do 12 and 12 and I'll adjust when I need to. All right, here we go.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
Got him!
Weighинradio.com.
Well, Fred, we often talk about on this show just how culturally bankrupt I am.
Yeah, I would say you are the least plugged in cultural as far as radio personalities go. Maybe on the face of the planet.
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty tuned into what's going on. It's just that there's a lot of big things that have missed me. But when it comes to cultural things I'm not super interested in, such as Seinfeld and Star Wars, I at least know most of the lingo just because, I've heard it repeated over and over. I know Star Wars, you throw out a couple of, don't make them too hard. Just throw out a couple of Star Wars terms and I'll tell you their origin.
May the Force be with you.
Yeah, that's from Star Wars. The Force is a thing that everyone wants in the Star Wars. Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's where it came from.
Yeah, Han shot first.
Okay. That's an for me.
Oh, my bad on that one. That's a good one because in the original movies, Han Solo shot this guy, but in the remakes, they changed it that the other guy tried to shoot Han first.
Well, you know what? When we were doing the Star Wars challenge, I watched the remakes, but like most of the time, say "May the Force be with you," do or do not. There is no try. Luke, I'm your father. I know all that stuff. My favorite line from Star Wars is Han Solo saying, "How are you?" That was my favorite line.
That's not. I don't know if that's in the movie.
Yeah, it's when he's trying to be a stormtrooper and comes over the intercom and he goes, "Everything's fine. How are you?" That's so I know most of the lingo. I know "Hello Newman." I know "No soup for you." So even though I don't watch these shows, I still get the cultural references. The one major franchise that I'm in lockstep with most people is the Rocky franchises. Love the Rocky franchises since I was a kid. And I didn't have high hopes for Creed. I guess it's a sequel, but to me it seems like they're trying to boot up another franchise. And I'm sitting there, Fred. I'm watching it. I'm surprised. I'm getting emotional during parts that I don't want to talk about because I don't want to give away to the listener. I mean, if
I got problems with my dad too, Mike. Everyone does. I get it.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess. I guess Apollo Creed's son's problem was that his dad's dead, and of course, that's not giving away anything because he dies in Rocky IV.
And also, I really don't have problems with my dad. I love and respect him a lot. So I don't know why I said that. Sorry, Dad, if you're listening.
You call your father up right now and tell him you love him.
I think you're great, Dad. You're the best.
All I'm saying, Fred, is that I have to go back and watch all the Rocky movies now because I think that Creed may be the best Rocky movie in the franchise. But I could also just be saying that because it's new and exciting.
Life is not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving.
Fred, you could tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
So you saw Creed. I saw Creed. In your opinion, is it the best sports movie of the year?
Seeing as it was the only sports movie I saw this year, I guess a lot of people said Southpaw was good. I didn't see that. Another boxing movie.
See that? No.
But I will say yes.
Okay. Yeah, good. Because McFarlane USA got a lot of play. It was like a movie about like cross country runners. You said Southpaw. The program.
Any Mighty Ducks sequels come out?
Not this year.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Concussion is going to be a good one. Will Smith.
Yep.
I think that's going to be at or near kind of the top.
Tell the truth.
Yeah. Otherwise, 2015, not the best year for sports movies. There were just not a lot of options. The remake to the program was not good.
What? Was that straight to Netflix? Because I did not hear that was even being remade.
Yeah, it was, I assure you it was, and like I said, it was not the best year for sports movies. But does the hands down Creed is the best one I saw. But comparatively, there have been years where there have been better sports movies. But I think Creed is good. There's a lot of Rocky movies, and it's not the worst one.
Yeah. Well, to me, my favorite was Rocky IV when Ivan Drago killed Apollo Creed. Right. I always get that one mixed up with the Mr. T one. But that one's my favorite because that's where Rocky ends the Cold War single-handedly while avenging the death of his best friend Apollo Creed.
There's a irony about juxtaposition with the UFC today with Conor McGregor and these guys. There's an irony about foreign athletes who are successful at what we consider to be like American sports, right? So in the Rocky movies, Ivan Dragic, or I don't know what his name was, but he's a killer Russian superstar, and this is going back to the 70s, and he's defeated by the underdog American, and that's, I love that story. I think.
Do you know how he defeated him, Fred?
Gumption,
hard work. Yes, hard work and gumption,
and that's the only thing that can defeat communism, and we all know that. So the only logical place I think for the reboot Creed series to go is a rematch.
Well, that's a good point. You know what I was actually thinking, Fred? I was thinking if not the second part of Creed, the third, where young Adonis Creed, played by Michael B. Jordan, who's fantastic. No, it's not. It's Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, sorry.
If he fights Ivan Drago's son, played by Kristaps Porzingis of the New York Knicks. Now, everyone, if you're listening to this and you're not driving, I want you to Google a picture of Ivan Drago, and then I want you to Google a picture of Christoph Porzingis.
And I will for the listener, Mike, because I wouldn't be able to do it. KRISTAPSPORZINGIS.
Yes.
Apps Porzingis.
Yeah, or you know what? I just put in PORZ and then it autofills the rest for me.
And I wasn't thinking correctly, Mike, because I said the next movie there should be a Russia America clash, but they can't in the next movie because everyone knows Rocky 7, Adrian's Revenge.
That's right. What, she comes back from beyond the grave?
But the Simpsons did it first, and whenever they called Adrian's Revenge, I feel that Michael B. Jordan as Adonis Creed will have to battle what presumably will be the bastard child of Adrian and probably Apollo Creed. It'll be his half brother. It's going to be turmoil. It's going to be struck. No one's going to see it coming, but it's going to work, and I'll buy a ticket.
Or you know what? Creed 5. Tommy Gunn's son comes back, and Adonis Creed has to cure him of AIDS.
How come whenever, and I'm not trying to, no, he does not cure him. How come?
And that's his biggest win. His biggest win is curing humanity of AIDS.
Spoiler alert, like every Rocky movie you've ever seen, not only does Adonis and Rocky have to take on an outside battle, they have to take on an inside battle as well, Mike. And during that inner struggle, where is Rocky's son? How come Rocky's son doesn't come back from Seattle or wherever he's at to hang out with Rock?
They said he's in Portland, and we all know that when Rocky started training Tommy Gunn, he spent way too much time with Tommy Gunn while ignoring his son, and that obviously caused irreparable damage to their relationship.
What's his name? Robert? Is that his name? So how come? But this, and spoiler alert, this inner struggle that Rocky and Apollo Creed's son have, I mean, it's very serious. And I feel like it's the kind of thing where you can bridge the gap between your dad, who has a job and coaches someone. He needs you in this situation. But if you're too hip and you're just hanging out in Portland, forgets you. Forget.
Yeah. Well, I think he didn't know. But speaking of personal tragedy and personal turmoil, I'm glad to see Sly Stallone back on the horse. I'm fine with the thought of Sylvester Stallone making Rocky movies for the rest of his life because he had a rough go. He lost his I don't know if it was his sister or his half sister. He lost his son, and a lot of people, a lot of people would withdraw themselves from the public eye. And he came out, and I haven't seen outside of Rocky. I haven't seen a whole bunch of Sylvester Stallone movies.
Oh no, you're wrong. You couldn't be more wrong. The Expendables movies are outstanding. Like they're terrible for what they are. I mean, they're campy and terrible, but they do it perfect. And he's been pumped. And then I think he had the Rambo movie right before that. So for the last 5-6 years or so, he's putting out movies, but they're not Hollywood blockbusters. But Sly Stallone just got nominated for Best Supporting Actor Golden Globe.
Right, and you know why? Probably because Sly Stallone's only involvement in this movie was acting in it. His mistake in the other movies were probably writing them, producing them, and that's probably where he went wrong after a while. So
I'm almost certain he wrote the first Rocky. Is that correct? And it was nominated for like Picture of the Year or whatever. It might have won it. I should know that.
But it's so weird because a movie like that would never be nominated for an Oscar nowadays. Do you know why? Because people actually saw it. And that's one of the criteria now for being nominated for an Academy Award is that your box office has to be well below 100 million.
Academy Award for Best Picture 1997, 1977, Academy Award Best Director. It won like 8 Academy Awards.
Yeah. So, see, it's weird. Yeah, like popular movies used to win these awards. I don't know when it shifted, but every time nominations come out, I'm like, who? What? That was a movie?
That happened with me last year. I don't remember who won the Academy Award for Best Picture last year. It's not important. It was like Silver Linings Playbook. Something sucked. But the best movie last year, without a doubt, was Guardians of the Galaxy. It wasn't even close. That movie's so good. I'll watch it right now.
Okay. Well, you watch that right now, Fred, because we got to take a quick break. So watch it on fast forward because you got to get the whole movie in 3 minutes. Which is when we'll be back. It's the Weigh-In, 590 KFNS, 1380 KXFN, weightinradio.com, and talkstl.com. Cool. All right. All right. That was 12. What do you want to talk about for our last segment here?
How good Bill Conti's Gonna Fly Now theme from Rocky is.
Okay. The second half of our Rocky discussion.
And now. That's how Bart figures out those Roman numerals. He goes, Rocky 7. All right, hold on. I had a bunch of tabs up. Bear with me.
Let's see here. Let's see. We've got maximum Steph Curry.
Clicking through some shit.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Kristen. They raised only like $100 more. That's not very good. Talk about the Warriors.
Okay.
When do they play next? They play tomorrow night and Saturday, so we can't really talk about the record per se.
Yeah, we can just talk about Steph Curry being overexposed. If that's something that you'd even want to talk about.
I'm in love with him right now.
Are you?
Yeah,
I like him too. But okay, well, let's talk about that. And maybe if there's time, which I doubt there will be. To me, it seems like there's this misnomer going around that people are getting upset with touchdown celebrations when I don't think people really are. There's a lot of people talking about people being upset about touchdown celebrations, but I think for the most part, people like them.
All right, let's do this. So we'll come back. I'll bring it back. I'll update everyone on Kristen. I'll mention the Ronda Rousey rematch. Then we'll jump into touchdowns, and then we'll finish with Steph Curry.
Okay. Well, actually, you want to go with the Ronda Rousey, then go to Steph Curry, because I don't think we'll have time for all three.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do Rousey, then Curry. Okay, here we go, and we'll do 12 minutes here.
Now, back to the Weigh-In.
Thank you so much for saying what needed to be said.
WeighInRadio.com.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Mike, the rematch has been set for the fight of the century.
Oh, is that Apollo Creed and Ivan Drago Jr. thing actually going to be? Are we that influential as a radio show, Fred, that it's happening already?
Unfortunately, this is not the second segment of Rocky and Creed talk. This is UFC 193, which featured, you remember, 12-0 Ronda Rousey against 9-0 Holly Holm, or Holm broke every record imaginable. I'm sorry, broke every bone in Rousey's face. There's a rematch, Mike. It's July 9th. Rousey will get a chance. This is assuming that Holm still has the title to reclaim her title, and she is ready, man. I'm excited for this one. I don't get up for UFC usually, but this is one of those cultural ones that I think I will not miss.
Yeah, you know what? And I remember after the last Rousey Holly Holm fight, I was wondering if a rematch would have a whole lot of interest. I was wondering if UFC was living off the Ronda Rousey bubble that was ripe to pop, because it seems like she was spending more time being a celebrity than a fighter. But now that enough time has passed, Ronda Rousey has kind of gone into seclusion. I think that there will be a significant amount of interest in this fight. Maybe not as much as the first one, because that fight was all about seeing the phenomenon that was Ronda Rousey. But I think now, because Ronda Rousey's kind of cocky, and I think you have to be cocky to be a good fighter. And honestly, I think that's part of UFC's marketing plan. But it seemed like when Ronda Rousey was undefeated, everyone liked her because she was confident. And now that she's got a loss, everyone wants to see her fail because she's cocky. And I think that you're going to get more of that hoping for a train wreck element in this one. And it'll do well when it comes to ratings.
Well, and it's like anything you bring attention to, the more outside influences you can get, the better, right? So the largest UFC draw of all time was UFC 100, and that was Brock Lesnar and Frank Mir. I don't if you remember. And I guess apparently this fight, UFC 193 that just had Rousey and Holm, that's the second biggest draw ever. And the thing that those have in common is Lesnar was a superstar before he got to the UFC. And the UFC successfully had created Rousey in a way that where she was an equal superstar, obviously the female version. The thing that's so neat to me about the UFC, and me and you, we don't talk a ton about commissioners in other leagues. We don't talk about the football and the basketball and Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball and all those guys. But Dana White in the UFC really does run the show, right? He's not appointed. He doesn't work for. It is his game.
Right.
And he's able to take his athletes and his events, and he's able to put them in the spotlight that he wants to and tell you any story he wants you to hear, and he does a great job.
Yeah, and honestly, as long as you have the right person in that position, it's probably what's best for whatever professional sports organization that you could name. Obviously, that'll probably be the downfall if you have anyone but Dana White in that position. And Dana White was very smart, because obviously you think of the world of professional fighting, and logically you would think that the biggest superstar would be a man. But he was able to sort of think outside convention and see that he has a superstar who's a female, who's not only really good at what she does, but she's attractive, she's charismatic, and he started pushing her more. And really, I mean, for that time between when she knocked out what was that chick's name? Beth Shaw or something?
No, yeah.
And the time she finally lost to Holly Holm, I have never seen anyone shoot that high, that fast in the pop culture stratosphere as Ronda Rousey did.
And Holly Holm, not so different from Ronda Rousey. Holly Holm, you'll take Holly Holm home to your family, and
I'll take her, Holly Holm. Hey-o.
And you'll be proud of that. She's a pretty girl. She's smart. She speaks well. She's obviously very talented in the ring. And the neatest stat I took away from UFC 193, now we're talking about the rematch coming up, Holly Holm was the #1 trend on Twitter on like a football Sunday, the day after the fight. And that used to be Ronda Rousey. But that kind of shows you through the machine that is the UFC and Dana White, how they're able to take those superstars or athletes and put them in a position where they're all going to succeed.
Well, and I think what's cool, and I guess maybe this kind of shows how far we've come as a society, that in the UFC, the biggest draws are the women, and it's not in this weird sort of mud wrestling sort of way. They're the biggest stars because they're the biggest stars. Their fights are legitimate, and for one reason or another, they genuinely draw a bigger amount of interest, the same type of interest that you'd think the men's division would get. And I think that's really cool, because obviously you watch wrestling. The women are very popular, but they're popular because they're all scantily clad babes catfighting, and these are highly tuned athletes who are masters at their crafts going at each other.
The thing that is most interesting to me of the UFC and the whole complex is when you do have guys on top, and I'm going to go back, I don't know, maybe 12 years now. We're going to go back 2004, and we're going to talk about a guy like Chuck Liddell, right? Chuck Liddell was your everyday man, and I really felt like at the time that everyone could relate to him. He wasn't your Adonis. He wasn't your guy who obviously just lived to fight, but he was a guy who liked to fight. And that's why I thought he related so well to then's viewers. Today's viewer, I think, is struggling to relate because they don't have a guy that jumps off the paper as a guy that could be your neighbor next door.
And do you think Ronda Rousey and or Holly Holm fits that? They're more relatable to the everyman than every man in the UFC.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. That is exactly what I think it is. I feel like everyone knows a chick who's a little lippy. Everyone knows a chick who's got a little bit of an edge. Everyone knows that, and you never really go for that chick, but that chick piques your interest. And I think that's what Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm is is I am interested in them. And I don't find that connection right now with the guys at the top of the UFC. And with the guys, there's a lot of options, right? There's a lot of classes, there's a lot of belts, and when we're talking women, we're just talking the one.
Well, and much like Ronda Rousey was the biggest thing in sports and or pop culture in the summer, the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry, mostly Steph Curry, is that right now. And there's a lot to like about Steph Curry, right? He seems like a good, down-to-earth guy. He wasn't anointed as the next big superstar when he came into the league. He sort of worked his way up there. And him and the Golden State Warriors are the top story every night on SportsCenter. And I'm a little concerned, Fred, that we may be nearing maximum Steph Curry in our culture.
No, it's like the debt ceiling. You just keep raising it. I want more curry all the time. I go to a restaurant and I ask for curry. Like that's how much curry I need to have. I want
right. It's good for your blood pressure, unless you're an opposing team.
I want curry on my big screen. I want curry updates on my phone. I want them on my fantasy roster. I am Steph Curry all day. ESPN's running a bunch of, for whatever reason, they're running a bunch of stories right now on Steph Curry. I'm watching every one. I'll watch them twice. I'm so into Steph Curry that I'm unable to connect with some other guys on the team. Not Klay Thompson, though. I'm a Washington State guy. Love Klay Thompson. But aside from Steph Curry, they can get rid of the rest of the team. I wouldn't care. Steph Curry is my guy.
Well, Draymond Green, he's kind of becoming a charismatic star in his own right. But, of course, they're all support to Steph Curry. And really, if we are to reach maximum Steph Curry, I wouldn't say it's his fault, because he's not putting himself out there. But, okay, it was cute when he brought his daughter up to the podium once, but, he doesn't need to do that anymore once the playoffs roll around. His wife is becoming like, she thinks she's like becoming a voice of reason on Instagram. She just goes on there and just starts giving advice to people that no one asked for. And yeah, like we said, they are the top story every night on SportsCenter. And we know why, because they're off to a historically good start.
I don't count the 4 wins from last year, but the streak is crazy. And you've made it to the next level. And I call this the Michael Jordan level. And we've talked about they're not the same guy, but I'm talking fame. Yeah. Do you remember posters? Do you remember when NBA players had posters and it was them like dunking on someone, or it was them with exciting in-game action? Well, Michael Jordan was a guy who he had posters, but they were him and his quotes. And they had posters and it was him holding a basketball. And it would be like, I missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. That one. Right. And then Steph Curry is a guy who's doing the same thing. He's got those. Success is not an accident. Like, he's a guy who's hit that next level to where you don't have to see him in his environment to know who he is. Steph Curry's ascended to bigger than the game.
Well, and it's funny too, because like I said earlier on, Steph Curry, to me, he's interesting and he's different than most NBA superstars, because we're talking about Kobe Bryant and LeBron last week, because Kobe Bryant, or maybe it was the week before, whenever Kobe Bryant announced that he was retiring. When Kobe Bryant came into the league, there was a lot of hype and a lot of expectations on him, and good for him. He was able to shoulder those and meet those expectations. Same thing as LeBron James. I wasn't born yet when Michael Jordan came into the league, but I'm guessing he was highly touted when he was drafted. Wasn't a whole lot of fanfare when Steph Curry was drafted, and there really wasn't a whole lot of fanfare up until recently. He sort of worked his way from a good NBA player up to being the superstar next to LeBron James, and I don't know if that's happened before.
In 2010, he was taken 8 overall by the Warriors, and he was booed. He was booed. A lot of guys get booed, but he was booed during that draft and coming out of Davidson. The first year, he finished his second in the Rookie of the Year vote. Outstanding. Then he does the ankle the next year. Does the ankle again. Well, the ankle's straight now. And because the ankle's straight, everything else he's doing absolutely right. And not only is he doing it right on the court, he's doing it with a personality that works better than guys before him who have found success. I think Reggie Miller was saying earlier in the week, like, Steph Curry is a good guy. Steph Curry is not an a-hole. And you used to find that with guys like Larry Bird and guys like Michael Jordan and got Reggie Miller himself. There were guys who came out, Charles Barkley. They had chips on their shoulders. And Steph Curry is the exact opposite. Steph Curry is a dude that you want your kids to look up to. And and whenever you want your kids to look up to someone, when your kid is talking about what socks to buy or what jersey to get, you're going to push them towards the way of Steph Curry. And he's going to become not just me. I'm 31 years old, Mike. He's not just my favorite player. He's every 13-year-old kid's favorite player. And he will be for the next 20 years.
Yeah, that's why I said, if we reach maximum Steph Curry, for once it won't be Steph Curry's fault. I also, I like how him and his dad seem close. There's that Del Curry night back when Steph Curry was playing, and it showed him and his dad. And he's a regular guy. He goes home after practice, and he watches Modern Family with his wife.
There's one game I make sure I watch every year, and it's when the Warriors go to Charlotte because Del Curry calls the games for Charlotte. Make sure you can watch that because he gets to talk about his son during the broadcast, and it's a really cool connection if you have that. I know we're kind of at the end here. I just wanted to update real quick for everyone. We've been helping Kristen Morris in her battle as she's recovering or she's receiving treatment for her brain cancer. She's up to $2,600 on her CrowdRise, so that's crowdrise.com/can't-stop-won't-stop-fight. I've been following her story on social media. I will share that with you if you are interested, but she's going to treatments every day, Mike, 2 weeks now.
Good, and we just keep rooting for her and doing what we can with the crowdfunding and everything. And once she's in full recovery and she's back to full health, I look forward to having her on the show.
Tomorrow night at Casa Romero in Rosewood Heights, that's East Alton, Illinois. 10% of all proceeds from that dinner go to Kristen and her family. I will be there. Come and have a beer and nachos with me.
This has been the weigh-in on 590 KFNS, 1380 KXFN, and on weighинradio.com. I may cut out where I said this has been because, like I said, I'll probably make the interview the last segment just because I like to do that for our our out-of-state listeners.
All right, so I'm going to pause it real quick.
Okay. I'm going to stop the broadcast, you mean?